Welcome back. This is our series all about how to tackle different kinds of shopping experiences, auctions and thrift stores and all kinds of stuff. So the last time we kicked it off with Facebook Marketplace and all of the ways that we found to fight through the sort of overwhelm and exhaustion of this feed pulling through to find some really great deals and how we go about tackling it. So if you haven't seen that, stop here, go check it out, and start there. But we realized as we were filming that we also really love selling on Facebook Marketplace, which is kind of a whole other kettle of fish. And we realized that it doesn't have to be as overwhelming as it might seem. I think sometimes people think that it needs to be a full-time job or you have to dedicate a lot of time if you want to sell something. And that can kind of lead to procrastinating on something that maybe it would be as easy as clearing out some extra room in your house. So we have some really good tips that we've found that have helped us break through that barrier. We want to share them. So with that, welcome to How to Sell on Facebook Marketplace.
So tip number one is start by taking an inventory of what is around you.
Yeah.
Because in your home, maybe you've got some stuff at your office, whatever, there's probably something that you've been needing to get rid of. So take an inventory and see what you have around you, because there's lots of things that are lurking in the corner. And you can be Mary Kondo about it. Sometimes as you're culling and as you're refreshing and you're letting go, you can start thinking about things that maybe somebody else can benefit from. And Facebook Marketplace is the best way to have that, because there's people who are looking for what you might have. Like, for example, we were doing our home, and as we were moving in together and in our guest bedroom, there was a desk that I picked up on Facebook Marketplace, and the way I got it was I bid for something else, and then off to the corner, was talking to the person, and they pointed and they said, "Could you use that? It's free." So
it's amazing how often that happens.
It happens a lot. So free is free.
Sure.
So we picked it up, painted it, and it's been in a corner of the guest room if somebody wants to use it as a desk.
Done the job.
But I knew it wasn't the long-term solution. I was looking for the long-term solution. Happened to find a really good deal on a little beautiful little antique desk that makes us happy. So we switched it out. So sometimes we get stuff and we get attached to it and we think it's the end all and be all. But if you're a thrifter or you're someone who's looking for bargains, it's time to upgrade sometimes or get into nicer end furniture. So look around, take an inventory, and see what can you sell, because the following tips are going to get you that. So first tip, you've got stuff to sell. Let's get going.
I think it's also worth thinking about what the best things for Facebook Marketplace are. Sometimes I think it's most useful for things that are pretty bulky. So that tends to be furniture, things that, yes, I can take it to Goodwill, but it's a little bit of a pain. Facebook Marketplace is great for that. It makes it a lot easier to sort of make it a natural part of your rhythm to snap a photo of something, move it through because someone's coming to you to take it out. Really awesome. It might not be the best format for something that's maybe a little bit more niche. If you have a collector's item, something that you know is really special, it has a really specific value, even if that's a piece of furniture that has a really beautiful vintage provenance, and maybe there's some wonderful sort of niche furniture online marketplaces
or consignment
stores that might be a better fit for that. We can do a link of some of our favorites in the description below. If you're selling something like, I know some people sell clothing on Facebook Marketplace. That's great. I think for me, there are some other things like Poshmark, etc. If I have a designer purse or something that I want to sell, this might not be the best market for it, but I think it's really good for the things in your life that you're wanting to move through and kind of make room for other treasures.
So tip number 2 is the title is the key.
Yeah.
And the reason the title is the key is that is the thing that is used by Facebook to post it in somebody's feed.
Yeah.
So that's where the algorithm searches. So be smart about how you use your title. That's not the place to get flowery, like a beautiful mid-century Beautiful's not going to get you anywhere. Mid-century will.
Yeah.
So be thinking about words that are more descriptive, that are going to be searchable. The title is really super key.
It's amazing to me on the flip side of that how often people will be really vague, like, oh, black desk. The more specific that you can be, the more niche down in your title that you can put those words that are going to pop up in someone's search. So if you know the material, the kind of wood, what it's made out of, if you know if it's vintage or it's from a certain decade, put the decade that it's in. If it's even if it's vintage inspired, what style is it inspired by? If it's reminiscent of a certain store, sometimes you'll see a listing.
I got him.
Sometimes you'll see a listing for anthropology style armoire, and that pops up well because even if it's not from anthropology, now you know that anyone who's looking for that sort of boho vibe, it's going to pop up in their searches as well. So the more specific you can be, the more clear it is, the better you'll do.
And if it's a brand name, make sure you put that brand
100%.
in there. So like, for example, if it's furniture that's restoration hardware, those search really well.
Yeah.
So you want to do that in there. West Elm, Pottery Barn, anything that's a brand, if that's what that is, put it in the description. It will actually get fed to people faster, and you'll get in front of more people based on your title.
But it's not the place to put prices. You're going to have a price next to it. So I've seen a lot of people put the price of the thing in the title. You're wasting space. Exception though, if the thing is free, put that right up front, big bold letters. That's a whole category. And frankly, I love posting free things on Facebook Marketplace. I think this is one of the most sustainable, sort of healthy ecosystems of being able to pass things along. So by all means, post something free, put it up there right away. People will grab it and be really grateful for it. But if it's not free, don't waste the title space with the price.
And if you live in a neighborhood with neighbors and you're tempted to put stuff out on the curb, then just put it on Facebook Marketplace as free. I can guarantee you, you're going to get a ton of people.
Absolutely.
Free always gets a ton of responses because people are looking for, helping refugees or setting up a new apartment or whatever. And your neighbors will thank you because you're not going to put stuff on the curb that looks crappy in the neighborhood. So there you go.
Number 3. This might be my bias as a very visually oriented person, but I believe that photos are the most important thing. I think that it's amazing to me how often you'll see someone just post one photo that's
or
maybe
grainy,
a little bit blurry or confusing about what's actually for sale and think that that will do the job. I don't quite get it. Did you know that there's no limit to how many photos you can post on a Facebook Marketplace post? You can post as many as you need to. And I feel like the more the merrier. If you can show, obviously, something kind of out that gives a good sense of what something is, and then show some details. Show what you love about it. Show what's unique. Show anything that's beautiful. If you can show it in context, sitting in a room or to scale, I think that's really helpful. I think it's important to not make the mistake of posting it with some other furniture. I've seen that a lot where someone will post it and then now people are asking about the lamp in the corner instead of the couch that they're selling. But if you can, the more photos that you can show that sort of put it in the best light, the better responses you'll have and the less questions that you'll get. You're fielding a lot of questions with someone bouncing back and forth, where if you just had good, clear photos, you would save a lot of time for everyone.
And, when people are coming to Facebook Marketplace, they know they're buying used.
Yeah.
So unless you put new in the description, but they're coming to buy something used. So if there's a flaw, don't worry about it. Show a picture of it so that people can see it, so that the buyer has the full assurance of what it is they're buying and there's no question. And you as the seller will have to do less explaining later. So just put it in your photos.
There's a lot of times when I've bought something where there's clearly a photo of a chip in the corner or a scratch on the sofa or whatever, and I'm fine with it because I'm making that decision ahead of time.
Right.
So take a photo of it, it's fine. The other tip that you taught me that I think is really good is to take a photo and then actually draw right on the photo the dimensions of the piece. And yeah, you can put the dimensions in the description, and you should, but people are scrolling through, they're seeing things quickly, and if you can actually show the exact measurements of what something is right on the photo or what the material is, the less questions you're going to have to field, the more clear that you'll be, and you'll save a lot of time for everyone. So right on the photo.
And it doesn't have to be fancy. Use the edit tool on
Yeah.
your photo app. It's there. A lot of times I'll just draw a letter, write the number 31 on the
Whatever.
side. So I say it's the height and the dimensions. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it'll save you a lot of time in asking questions because people are visual and they'll see that more than they will by reading it in the description.
And they'll feel more confident about buying something because it feels like they actually have the information.
So that leads us to tip number 4, which is a good description sets you apart from everyone else.
Yeah.
So pay attention to it. So here are some tips. You're really not limited, so use this space to your advantage.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that some people, I was just looking at Facebook just the other day, and I couldn't believe that it's just a photo and nothing. Don't do that.
It seems so scammy.
It's just your place to shine just a little bit more. So if you're going to sell something, take the time to write a description. Start off for the people who just want to be like me.
The to-the-point shopper.
Just get to the point. Tell me what it is. So give me brand, a color, the dimensions, what it is, the description. Just be, what is it? And then you want to embellish a little bit more with emotion
The
for the emotional buyer.
shopper.
And in that spot, you want to just kind of like, how will you use it? Paint a picture of how it could look in their home, or, that.
How you got it, why you're letting it go. I think a lot of times, one of the things people want to know is, this looks perfectly fine, why are you selling it? Is something wrong with it? I think it can be really helpful in the description to say, I've loved this piece, it served me really well, but I'm moving and it doesn't fit into my new place, or whatever. That way I know that, there's not something defective that you're hiding from me, and I can feel a little bit more connected to what the story is and why I might care about this item.
And that's really my strategy. I start with the facts, I give a little bit of a paint the picture, and then I wrap it up with, this has served me well, I'm downsizing, or it doesn't fit my style, or this is ready for a new home.
Whatever.
Can't wait to see whose home it's going to go to. Really what you're doing is painting that full picture. So utilize that description well, and you'll be set apart from everybody else.
Absolutely. And then always use the end of it to kind of set the terms of what you want to happen next. So sometimes you'll get a ton of responses of people saying, is it available? Is it available? Is it available? If you want people to know this posting will stay up as long as it's available, then they don't need to ask you that over and over again. You could say that right at the bottom. If you're wanting the price to be, or best offer, OBO, then they know that they can haggle with you a little bit. If your price is firm, say that at the bottom. If you want to be paid in cash, or you want to be paid in a certain payment method, say that at the bottom. If you need it to be gone by a certain time, this is your chance to kind of define the terms of what you want to happen, and it will save a lot of headache down the road. So, number 5 is price to sell. Now, this is a little bit subjective because there's a lot of different philosophies on this, and we can tell you where we kind of fall on this. I think there's a lot of valid ways to go, but it's worth knowing what you're looking for. I think some people come in and they can set something pretty high because maybe they paid a high price for it originally and they wanted to make sure that they get the value out of it, or they're just a little attached. As someone who gets attached to inanimate objects all the time, I so get that. But you also want to think about how much you really want this thing to actually move. And maybe you price it a little bit lower, or maybe you price it like $100 higher than you think that you'd be willing to, so you have some room to haggle and negotiate if you want to. For me personally, I hate the haggling part of Facebook, so if I'm going to post something, I'm going to post it at a price that I feel like is fair, it's what I would like, and I'm going to say the price is firm. That's a personal opinion. It's up to you.
So say, for example, you price something and it's just not selling.
Yeah.
Another option that you can do, but don't do it too quickly, is lower your price if it's not selling for what you're not getting any offers. If you lower your price, then what happens is that now you get back into the algorithm and it'll get put in the feed at a higher place, then it'll just get buried into the ether. Because truth be told, I have 2 chairs that I have on there that's been over a year. They still show up if someone really wanted to go down deep, dig down deep, because I've not bothered to take it out or lower the price or whatever. But when I do lower the price, it'll kick it back up in the algorithm. So you can always do that and adjust your listing later. So pricing is one of those things that you kind of have to play around with.
Yeah.
Another good tip is to just look around Facebook before you get started. If you're new to this, or if you are somebody who really likes bargaining, and you are somebody who, you go to a consignment shop, or you go to Goodwill, and you're one of those treasure hunters that find stuff and you say, man, I could sell that. That could be something you do. So what you want to do is look around in Facebook Marketplace and see what is selling and what prices, and that'll kind of give you a strategy. Yeah. But if you don't have time for it, don't worry about it. If you've just got one or two things, think of it as a quick garage sale without you having to price stuff and man it. Yeah. So just get it in there, price it for what you think it's worth, and get it going. The key is to list it. Yeah. So pricing is subjective. You just kind of have to play with it.
So you've made your listing, you did your photos, you did all the stuff. The next step is actually posting the thing. And there's a really good tip that I didn't know about until you showed me, that when you post it, it posts on Facebook. Sis boom bah, there you go. It's on the whole
marketplace.
But if you are a part of any local groups, and I recommend that you do, that's a whole other story. There are, buy-sell groups, there are buy-nothing groups, there are garage sale groups or thrifting groups that you can be a part of in your local area. Anything that you're a part of, if you go to post that post, it'll ask you where you want to post it to. And you can actually say, post it to these groups that I'm a part of. And then it will actually, if their settings are right, it will actually post that listing in the group for you automatically. And it will pop up the notification. If someone is a part of that group and is in your local area, it will go straight to their notifications. So it's kind of a smart way to get warm leads to things that you're having that are someone who is in your area and is probably really interested already will actually see them a lot faster. So that's a really good way to sort of scoot to the top and actually find people who want your things more efficiently.
When you're ready to post, it'll say publish now. Mm-hmm. And in there's going to be a little column, and in that column it'll give you options before you can publish it. So while you're setting it up to post it, it'll say local only, local pickup only. It'll say local with shipping. And those two check marks are the automatic default. So you need to be able to unclick it. And we suggest you do local only unless you're willing to do shipping.
Or power to you if you want to ship.
If you want to do it that way, but just be aware that is there. And I personally prefer just local pickup only because I don't want to hassle. For me, this is convenience. It's a means of getting rid of stuff, having some extra cash, but it's expedient. Yeah. So make sure that you check that before you publish, or it will go with shipping option. The other thing that we didn't mention in the description, so before you post, you want to make sure you don't make this mistake, because I just now thought about it, is don't put your phone number and don't put your personal details in there.
Nothing personal on the description at all.
Facebook will show the zip code that you live in, and when you're ready to publish, it'll show you. So you can adjust that if you're in a certain area and it's thinking you're someplace and maybe the location is somewhere else. You can adjust the zip code before you publish it. But you don't want to put your address at that point. Yeah. You don't want to put any personal information.
I've seen people list their phone numbers on the listing.
Don't smart. Do it. It's just not smart. So when all that's ready to go, you hit publish and you're good. Tip number 7 is tips for stress-free responding, because part of the process of Facebook Marketplace is once something gets published, and if you found something that people want, you're going to get lots of people in your inbox saying, is this available?
Is it available? Is it available? Is it available?
And it is, you can tell to both of us, that
so
is
aggravating.
The most aggravating thing ever. The reason they do that is because the default that when someone messages you, the default is this available? So it adds your name and is this available? Is
automated message.
Automated by Facebook. So if the buyer hasn't bothered to send you a good description, you're going to get a ton of those. So my suggestion to you is just write yes and move on. If they want to negotiate with you and respond back, they will. It is not worth you going, yes, it is, but are you interested?
It's not worth the calories. Just answer it and
move on. If you're going to keep answering the same kinds of questions over and over again, and you get the same kind of questions and you've bothered to respond to someone thoughtfully about a question, what I'll do is I'll just go up to that response, copy paste it, and then I use that for other people who are asking the same question. It just saves you a little bit of time, because if you got the right item, sometimes you can get 50 people that are messaging you right away because they're looking for that piece of item. So just be paying attention to using copy paste in responses, and sometimes people respond to you and they're total scammers and jerks. You know who they are. So either my suggestion is ignore them, or if they're really offensive, block them.
You have our permission. You just block them.
And if they're really offensive, you can block them, but you can also, in the process of blocking, report them.
Yeah.
So take that step, but don't take the step of answering them.
Yeah.
Because then it puts you in a dialogue with somebody who's a creep anyway. So stay away from those kinds of responses, and it'll go better for you.
The other thing that I think is helpful in that process too is you'll get a lot of responses quickly, and a lot of people are going to be asking for a deal immediately and wanting to haggle and wanting to sometimes take it much lower than you would be comfortable with.
It's amazing how rude people are.
It's amazing. And I think, for me, the best way to go about it is to say, you want to leave the options open. Maybe you do want to go down eventually, who knows? But I think you can say it in a way that is gracious, and you can say, I have several people who are interested at full price right now, but I'll keep you on the list, and if those don't work out, I'll let you know if we might be able to make a deal in the future. And that way, it puts it back on them that if they really want it, they can say, like, oh no, we're going full price, I can jump up and I can make this work. And if not, it gives you a little bit more control that if you want to go back to them in the future, you can, but you have a little bit more power in that process, and you don't have to respond to every person who wants to haggle with you. You're kind of in control here. So if you need it gone by a certain day, you can make it clear that you'll prioritize someone who can come quickly. Or if you want to be paid in advance or paid on a certain, digital platform, someone who will do that, you will prioritize them. You can kind of control the conversation, and you don't have to say yes to the first person who is really aggressive with you.
Sometimes people will say, hey, I'm interested, would you be willing to hold this till Friday or whatever? So canned responses are your friend. And so what I'll do is just say, I'm selling this on a first come, first serve. Whoever pays me cash gets it. If you'd like to pay cash now, I'm willing to hold it. What you're after is full price, obviously.
Yeah.
So set yourself up for that, but sometimes you can't get full price. So then you can go back to somebody. I've done this when I've gone back to somebody who said potential. I say, hey, a sale just fell through. If you want it, it's available. Are you still interested? And then sometimes they'll come back with a lower price. If I want it, I'll get it. But most of the time I get the full price.
Yeah. So the last tip is how to get paid well and quickly. I think one really helpful thing to think about is that a big mistake that I've seen people do, and I've done it myself, is to mark something as pending or sold a little too quickly. And what that does is, as soon as you mark a sale as pending, Facebook stops promoting it, stops jumping it to the top of the pile, and you stop getting as many people seeing it. I think the best way to go about it is, if you have people who are saying they're interested, saying they're come, great, go ahead, move forward with those. If other people ask in the process, go ahead, pull out your canned response like she was saying, and say, I have someone in line that's in line ahead of you, but if it falls through, I'll let you know. And that way you're keeping your options open, so if something does happen, the person ends up not coming, whatever, you have sort of a wait list that you've set up for yourself that you can go back to, and you're not kind of stuck and then you have to start the process all over again. And I think the other big thing is, don't mark it as sold until you've actually been paid. I have done that before where I've marked it as sold because I knew someone was coming, and then they came, they decided not to take it, and then I had to start.
Show up.
They didn't show up. It's amazing how often. And then you have to start all over again. So be a little bit cautious about that. Leave the doors open for yourself, and then really only wrap it up when you're fully satisfied.
One mistake I made when I was first starting to sell on Venmo is that I left other people to tell me they wanted to pay with cash. And I didn't realize what was happening. And maybe it won't happen to you, but if in the event it does, this is how to prevent it. So they would come, especially like right after her wedding, I was selling like all this bulk stuff. And so wedding stuff sells really well, just as a tip. If you've just recently had a bridal shower and you've got all this stuff, or, we bought all this stuff for her wedding. So I was reselling it on Facebook Marketplace. And so then people were coming, and one lady came to buy my silverware, and it was a lot. It was like a $350 order. And she wanted to pay me cash. So I thought, okay, fine, $350. So I met her, and where I'm there to exchange heavy silverware, and then she gives me $200 and says, will you take that? Or she was counting really slow. I only have 200. I held firm because it pissed me off so much that I was just like, over my dead body. You walk out, I'll start again. Because she wanted to do that. And sometimes people will do that as a trick. I've heard it from other people that have sold on Facebook.
Because it's harder to say no to someone face to face.
Yeah. And some people are really, they just need to win. So the way to get out of that is I've just now say, I just want to be paid by either Venmo or PayPal if they have it. And occasionally I'll have someone say, I'm a for sure person and I'm going to pay you with cash. But you kind of pick that up in the communication back and forth.
And just make it clear the price is firm.
And so then once you actually have the payment, you got to also negotiate how they're going to come pick it up. And there's several options that you can do. You can meet in a safe spot. I've sold old phones before. I just don't want them coming to my house. So I meet at a Starbucks, there's people that exchange at a parking lot at a grocery store that don't want them to be at your home. If you've got something that's bulkier that, you want them to remove, then you can give your address, but only give that address if payment has been made.
And if you feel comfortable, and you are totally in your rights to say you're not comfortable with someone coming to your home. That's fine.
Yeah, but you'll get a sense of that in the communication that you have back and forth. I've met some great people on Facebook, and you can kind of tell who they are because of the exchanges that go back and forth.
Yeah.
But just stay safe. If you don't feel comfortable having someone to your home, there's other ways to get those places where you can exchange it after you have payment.
Yeah.
So just be careful about that, and then you'll do fine.
Yeah.
So there you have it. 8 tips on how to effectively sell on Facebook Marketplace. You can do this. You got lots of stuff probably that you can sell.
Time to start scouring your home.
But with these tips, you'll be able to just get a little bit ahead of the game and get the prices that you're asking for. So, happy selling.
Happy selling.